And today we conclude our continuing series on the 100 greatest artists of all time, the Immortals. At number 1, the Beatles. In 2004, in the Rolling Stone magazine, Elvis Costello wrote, "I first heard of the Beatles when I was 9 years old. I spent most of my holidays on Merseyside then, and the local girl gave me a bad publicity shot of them with their name scrawled on the back. This was 1962 or 63, before they came to America. The photo was badly lit, and they didn't quite have their look down. Ringo had his hair swept slightly back, if he wasn't quite sold on the Beatles' haircut yet. I didn't care. They were the band for me. The funny thing is that parents and all their friends from Liverpool were also curious and proud about this local group. Prior to that, the people in show business from the north of England had all been comedians. Come to think of it, the Beatles recorded for Parlophone, which was known as a comedy label. I was exactly the right age to be hit by them full on. My experience, seizing on every picture, saving money for singles and EPs, catching them on the local news show, was repeated over and over again around the world. It was the first time that anything like this had happened on this scale, but it wasn't just about the numbers. Every record was a shock when it came out. Compared to rabid R&B evangelists like the Rolling Stones, the Beatles arrived sounding like nothing else. They had already absorbed Buddy Holly, the Everly Brothers, and Chuck Berry, but they were also writing their own songs. They made writing your own material expected rather than exceptional. John Lennon and Paul McCartney were exceptional songwriters. McCartney was, and is, a truly virtuoso musician. George Harrison wasn't the kind of guitar player who tore off wild, unpredictable solos, but you could sing the melodies of nearly all of his breaks. And most importantly, always fit right into the arrangement. Ringo Starr played the drums with an incredibly unique feel that nobody can really copy, although many fine drummers have tried and failed. Most of all, John and Paul were fantastic singers. Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison had stunningly high standards as writers. Imagine releasing a song like Ask Me Why, or Things We Said Today, as a B-side. These records were events, and not just advance notice of an album release. Then they started to really grow up. They went from simple love lyrics to adult stories like Norwegian Wood, which spoke of the sour side of love, and on to bigger ideas that you would expect to find in catchy pop lyrics. They were pretty much the first group to mess with the oral perspective of their recordings and have it be more than just a gimmick. Before the Beatles, you had guys in lab coats doing recording experiments in the 50s, but you didn't have rockers deliberately putting things out of balance, like a quiet vocal in front of a loud track on Strawberry Fields Forever. You can't exaggerate the license that this gave to everyone, from Motown to Jimi Hendrix. My absolute favorite albums are Rubber Soul and Revolver. When you picked up Revolver, you knew it was something different. Heck, they were wearing sunglasses indoors in the picture on the back of the cover and not even looking at the camera. And the music was so strange and yet so vivid. If I had to pick a favorite song from those albums, it would be And Your Bird Can Sing. Wait a minute, no. Girl. No. For No One. Well, no. It just goes on and on. You can't pick a favorite. Their breakup album, Let It Be, contains songs both gorgeous and jagged. I remember going to see the film of Let It Be in 1970. I left with a melancholy feeling. The word Beatlesque has been in the dictionary for a while now. I can hear them in the Prince album, Around the World in a Day, in Ron Sexsmith's tunes, and in Harry Nilsson's melodies. You can hear that Kurt Cobain listened to the Beatles and mixed them in with punk and metal. I've co-written some songs with Paul and performed with him in concert on a few occasions. During one rehearsal, I was singing a harmony on a Ricky Nelson song, and Paul called out the next tune, All My Lovin'. I said, "Do you want me to take the harmony line the second time round?" And he said, "Yeah, give it a try." I'd only had 35 years to learn the part. It was a very poignant performance, witnessed only by the crew and other artists on the bill. Elvis Costello concludes, "At the show, it was very different. the second he sang the opening lines, "Close your eyes and I'll kiss you," the crowd's reaction was so intense that it all but drowned the song out. It was very thrilling, but also rather disconcerting. Perhaps I understood, in that one moment, one of the reasons why the Beatles had to stop performing. The songs were not theirs anymore. They were everybody's. Well, I've certainly enjoyed doing this list of Rolling Stone's 100 greatest artists of all time, the Immortals, and wow, what a ride it's been, and how appropriate that we finish it off with the number one artists of all time, the Beatles.